Hello and welcome or welcome back to Talking About Cross Stitch with the Stitching Owl. Today is a celebration and I have my water in a wine glass to say cheers with. What are we celebrating? So many things. Today is actually my Flossaversary. It's been a year since I started doing my Flosstubes, not quite to the day. I started on August 1st last year, and I have had a great deal of fun getting to know each of you and becoming part of a community and extended family that has me making friends throughout the world. I am incredibly grateful for all of the interactions that I have with you through my Flosstubes, through the Zoom meetings, through emails, and I cannot thank you enough for the last year. I started my Flosstube as I looked to closing my studio. I knew last summer that I was in the preparation, my final year of teaching, and that at this point now I have a couple of people that I'm going to continue to just mentor a bit as they learn further about teaching of piano and theory. But other than that, I am now retired. And maybe I should add one more thing. I'm still doing some marking for the conservatory. And yes, that's coming next month. So many of you would say I'm not truly retired, but for me, my house is no longer a place of business. It is a home. And it is actually the first time since the day I got married that has been true about this particular address. I'm grateful to my parents who actually allowed my sister and I to establish our businesses in their homes for a number of years before we left to do it on our own. So I am celebrating you and thank you. I'm also celebrating Canada swaps. All of the letters have gone out to let everyone know who they will be sending their small to sometime in the next month. If you want to send it this month, go right ahead. The idea is that by Labor Day weekend, you will pop it into the mail so that we all can have a surprise that connects us across the provinces. I'm very grateful and thank Michelle and Cheryl of the Two Bay Stitchers for making the suggestion to do this and allowing me to be part of the process. I'm happy to announce that actually the first photo of a fully completed item has arrived in my email. I am looking forward to more. I'm going to ask that you actually do email to the e-addresses that were included in my letter to you rather than sending me the picture via Instagram. I am not as technically savvy as most people would think, and I do appreciate just having the ability to easily create the final video that will be a wrap-up of those things that made their way through the mail. What else are we celebrating? Well, we are celebrating the Olympics, and I am sure that you have watched at least a few moments. I myself enjoy all the water sports. The beach volleyball is actually quite fun to watch. I do know that we have some Canadians that are doing quite well. My husband's a runner, therefore track and field events are wonderful. And rowing is something that is very popular in my area as well. I will pop on almost any of these sports, and I can say that I have witnessed many amazing moments. One of the heats that was in preparation for a final in runs, there was so many people who did the best time for their country that not all of them were actually going to be able to run in the final, even though it was a personal best and their own country's best. That is what we celebrate with the Olympics. Everybody giving their best and respecting how much dedication they are demonstrating, whether they are the person that wins the gold medal or whether they are the person that does not place. They are demonstrating dedication that is amazing to all of us. So in a little while, we will talk further about the Olympics. And what else are we celebrating? Well, in the past week, I celebrated my wedding anniversary. And so I wanted to share a few things with you. I know that I am generally running fairly lengthy videos without giving a lot of private updates and things, but today I thought I would share a little bit. This is the wedding album, and there is my husband, who you've seen in cameos at times, and myself. 42 years ago. I met my husband when I was 14 and he was 16, and I married him at age 21 and 3 weeks. A month before my wedding, my mother's mother, who lived with us in my home for my entire life, she fell and she broke a hip. The operation was a success, but she didn't wake up in the period of time expected. And upon waking up, did not have access to all of her memory in the same way. She lost a number of years, and when she saw me, she called me my mother's name. We were married at like 6:30 in the evening on a toasty day in a church. Now, the old brick churches actually were not air conditioned, but often were cool enough because the bricks were so thick. Our wedding was what most people would consider small. If you counted all of the musicians as well as the wedding party and the minister, there was still less than 50 people attending. My mother was an only child. My father had one sibling. So that cuts down on aunts and uncles. And then my grandmother married the brother of the man that married her sister. So that cut down on that layer of things as well. So it was a small but joyful day. And we were fortunate that after our photos were taken, that the hospital allowed the wedding party in after hours so that I could visit my grandmother. I wanted her to see the wedding. She had been part of the preparations all the way through. I don't know whether she remembers that day, but I know it was a special moment to my family, my brother, sister, and their partners, their wives, wife and husband, were our attendants. And so we all were able to have that special moment, and our guests were incredibly patient in waiting past 9 o'clock for the reception so that that visit could take place. I'm very grateful to Woodstock General Hospital for allowing this to happen, because there were rules, but they were allowed to be broken that day. So 42 years. I too celebrate my husband, my children, And I celebrate my brother and sister's marriages and my parents, who were married for 68 years before my father passed. Thank you for letting me share that part of my story. Now, and this is when I have to start putting things on the floor. There was one other thing that I'm celebrating. About a week ago, I had a visit from a friend who is a past student and is one of the two people that I'm continuing to mentor. She knew how much my studio meant to me, and that my students were incredibly important to me, and that I wanted to take the time to get to know each of them personally so that we could bring music to life through what their life experience was. And for them to know that there was a safe place for them to discuss things if life ever got difficult. Now, this wonderful woman, who I'll only give the first name of Nicole, arranged for this memory book. In this memory book, there are photos that were taken over the past decades and messages from many of my students as to what their path with me at the piano has meant to them over time. It's incredibly special. I did not expect anything like this. I showed it to my mother on Thursday, and she was literally in tears. Not only did they make me this book, she gathered people together and let them know that I'm doing these Flosstubes, and contacted Roxy Flossco and Evertote, and Hannah at Evertote worked diligently with the different people that I've worked with over the years for them to purchase Roxy Floss for me. So I have a bag of floss as well as a floss keeper, and Hannah made sure there are no duplicates. So I'm very thankful to Nicole for taking the time to do something so special for me, and for all of the people that responded to her request for their input and donations, so that as I go forward with my stitching, I will have a lovely floss that is very special to me. Okay, is there anything else to celebrate? Why, yes, there's Happy Meal to celebrate. I also want to say thank you to Samantha, the Huga Stitcher, for sending me this Owl Forest embroidery pattern. Now, this is a monthly, so there's 12 little quilt blocks that you use variegated thread, and clearly I've got some to use now. She had completed hers, and I watched her showing her stitches of each of these and thought, oh my, those are gorgeous, and there's ample room for some embellishing with beads. So I reached out to her and said, could I purchase this from you? And she said, no, you can't purchase it, but yes, you can have it. So she mailed it to me as a gift. And Samantha, I don't think you were aware that it was going to arrive at my anniversary, and at such a special time, within days of receiving all of the floss that I can use to actually complete these patterns. So thank you for the Happy Mail. I am aware that my Send a Smiles have arrived, and I'm so glad that the people receiving things are very happy. Karen of KBH Stitches, it was one of the recipients. I knew that she was going to need to go to the hospital again with her son and thought she might need a new kit. So I sent, of course, an Evertote kit. And the other recipient was somebody who had sent me so much as part of a swap with the Stitching with Sandy swaps. I thought I would send her a card and a small ornament myself. I don't feel comfortable sharing names there because I did not ask permission. Further Send a Smiles will be going out very soon. And I think that takes me through my celebration area. So now you know why this particular Flosstube was labeled Let's Celebrate. And later in this video, there will be an announcement as to a giveaway to help to commemorate today. Now, let's talk for a moment about the Olympics further. So the thenaptimestitcher on Instagram created a set of prompts to stitch the Olympics, and I have been participating, and for once in my life, I have actually gotten a picture up on a daily basis. I think 2 of them might have been the next morning, but they've actually all gone up. I was so pleased that one of the recent videos of Laura Stitching by the Shore, where she shared with us that she does so many things with the Magazine Monthly Club on Facebook, as well as the Full-Time Frenzy group, but that she somehow doesn't quite get the starting pictures up. So she's participating, but participating in her own home. I never get my first pictures up either. I'm always doing the prompts. And as you know, I'm using my stained glass owl. And so that's the other reason that I'm tending not to actually always put pictures up, because I have made everything about my owl. And I think most people would want to see a variety of stitches with those prompts. So with Stitch the Summer Olympics, on July 26th, our opening ceremonies, we were doing a new start or something you started in 2024. And Connie, thank you Connie, who I stitched Dreamer with, started this Peacock pin cushion of Country Cottage sampling. I always get it mixed up with a couple of the other ones. And I said, wait for me, I want to start too. So I started on the first day, and this is how far I got. So it's mostly a center start. The center was like in here, and I had to count up carefully. Now this is a 22 count hardanger that is recognized as a form of Aida, but when I say a form, it's not the exact weave of Aida, because it is meant to have its strands pulled in a hardanger method. You have to be careful when you stitch to ensure that your stitches don't slide under every other path of the squares. So I still find that I do enjoy stitching on this, and I do love this size. So in here, this is close to the called for colors. I of course discovered that I did not have all of the set colors of DMC on the day that I wanted to start. I'm not somebody to actually kit things up months ahead of time and just go, oh, today's the day. I say today I want to start something, and then I see if I've got the floss. 9 times out of 10, I have to do at least 1 or 2 substitutions. So that is Peacock pincushion, and it is now a new whip. Day 2 was Stitch Something Patriotic. So I decided I was going to purchase another Darlene Dion design from Artsy, and I purchased Canada Day Bouquet. I don't quite have it finished yet, but it is well on the way with its pinwheels and Canada flag in our national colors. I have left some places blank where I'm going to add beads, because you know I'm like that, and I do need to finish putting in the basket. So this has been stitched on 32 count Prehistoric by Fox and Rabbit. The last video when I was talking about something to do with dinosaurs by Fox and Rabbit, this is it, Prehistoric. It is a lovely fabric to stitch on. I haven't found many slubs at all to have to deal with. Yep. Very nice background, lovely neutral. So that was a day 2. July 28th was Stitch Something Summer. So I told you last time that I was going to start the Jardin Prive Gnome Olympics. I am not doing this as a total stitch. I am stitching individual elements, and they will be made into ornaments. So that first day, I stitched weightlifting. And isn't it adorable? He's weightlifting. Oh, I've got strands on the side. He's weightlifting summer plants. So you can see that this is a 32 count even weave that is considered a petite dot. And one of the things that I liked about this is that I could do that entire gnome in a single day and take the picture to post. So that's really cool. I'm not necessarily going to stitch every gnome, but I would like to stitch most of them. On July the 29th, it was Stitch the Colors of the Olympic Rings. And here I did hurdles of the Gnome Olympics. And in this case, the hurdle was a sheep. Now what I did here was I incorporated the different colors of the rings, the red, blue, black, yellow, green, into the design. So I did purposely change the colors so that I had all the colors of the rings here. And this one I'm stitching on a Pell Stitches even weave that I don't know what the name of the color is, but is it not pretty? On July 30th, it was something to do with water. So then I refold this. So I haven't cut these apart. Where's my water? Ah. I did the gnome with the swimming pool. And look at that. A tiny little duck, a ladybug, butterfly. I thought that this was ever so cute. And while you can't see the water, we know that he's going to dive into water with his blow up safety ring. So they're darling, they really are. And that was still on the petite dot. Then on July 31st, it was Stitch Something Round. Later on, you're going to see my owl. I did all of the confetti stitches that were left in the eyes because they are round. On August 1st, it said to stitch the oldest whip, which is my owl. I started it September 16th of 2023, and I put in over 400 stitches that day. So again, we're going to get to see that one later. August the 2nd was stitch something with more than one person. So I went back to my Gnome Olympics because there was a badminton scene. Now I'm going to admit that with it having 2 gnomes plus this cute little bird, this took more than just an hour and a bit to do, so I finished it this morning. I'm just going to bring your attention, look at these rackets. So what I did there is, this is a long stitch from the starting to the ending point, and then I wove those together so that it made it look like the netting that is in a badminton racket. And I'm sure the word isn't netting, but I'm not a badminton player. But I do enjoy watching it, and wow, they get around the court really well. So I do have more gnomes in my future, but that's as many gnomes as I've done with the Olympics so far. When it came to August the 3rd, it said something that had a row or a border. And for me, my row was Any Town, Tiny Town. And this is the more version because they've got a couple of these. You are absolutely right if you're remembering that I had the stitching finished. So I fully finished this. So I did a swirl of beads on the top, some mini palms around the side, and then I filled this. Now, good news and bad news. In Ontario, there is fabric stores called Fabricland. The bad news is that another one is closing because they have fewer people sewing. The good news is that they had 60% off of everything in the store. Well, almost everything. So I did not need more material. Trust me, I did not need more material. However, I did purchase 22 vials of beads at 60% off, and trimmings of rickrack and mini palms. They were also on 60% off. So I have lots of ways to finish. I'm sure it'll take me more than 1 year to go through what I purchased. So I am sad that they are closing that one because it was my favorite Fabricland, but the good news is there's one left in London, and there's another one in a place called Stratford that is about 30 minutes away. So I'm not completely out of luck now, but I do love a good drum finish. And I just put some neutral on the bottom. This is hard, and in keeping with what Carlene, oh dear, it might be Marlene, of the Sun City Stitchers, I asked how she got as much of a poof on her top, and she said, oh, I'm using about 9 layers of quilt bat. This is 9 layers. So there's 5 different sizes of circles. So I do 2 circles the size of the disc that I put in, and then I go a 1/4 inch smaller for 2, a 1/4 inch smaller, a 1/4 inch smaller, and then one that's quite tiny for the very mound in the center. And that's how I get this to be so bouncy. So that is one fully finished item, and it's what I did for the Olympics. And then today It was do something with a building. And now I have to find my building. Ah, yes. So what I did was I wanted to show that these tiny towns are more than just a drum or a long stitch. You can make ornaments out of these. So I chose the church. I picked one of the trees, not necessarily the one that was right next to it on the pattern, and one of these light standards. Now, this isn't quite done because I only worked on it for about 90 minutes this morning. So I'm going to bead the stained glass windows and bead around the outside. And I also, at Fabricland, purchased teeny tiny flowers, so there's going to be some flowers on the bottom as well. So if you have smalls to do for a smalls exchange at a retreat, and you're getting down to the last week or two and thinking, oh, I'm just not going to get to it, it is possible to do something like this. And even without the stained glass windows, it looks quite charming. And that was about 90 minutes. If you want to do a gnome, it's about an hour. Well, it depends on which gnome you do, though. I must admit that. So that brings us up to date on stitching the Olympics. I will share with you next time what I do for the others. I did mention it on my last video, but I admit that every so often I go, ooh, I think I'm going to change what my plan was, and that's just part of the fun, isn't it? Now, we all know Brenda the Handwork Maniac. She's the one that turned me onto the Jardin Prive Olympic gnomes, and I was thrilled to discover that Lisa, the Forest City Stitcher, is stitching it with me too. Brenda is actually taking the Olympics further, and she picked out a bunch of her stitches and said, so on this stitch, if I get like 1,000 stitches in, it's going to be a gold medal for me. If I get 800 in, it'll be a silver, 600, it'll be a gold, or it could be like 6 hours, it's gold. Boy, I think I should have said bronze for that last one. Or it could be hours, 6 hours gold, 4 hours silver, 2 hours bronze. So she had a raft of whips that she was connecting to the Olympics and said, you know what, I'm going to be stitching 8 hours a day in front of the Olympics. I'm going to work on some medals for myself. I started to make a list to join her on that, but quickly discovered that I didn't have as many hours in the day and I need to move more often or my body complains. So I have let that go, but if you followed Brenda's ideas, kudos to you. I'd love to know how it's going. And now we're on to fully finished items. Okay, so during the last Zoom Stitching with Sandy, she has a Zoom meeting totally free to anybody who wants to join in on the second and fourth Sunday of the month, which is why I do my Flosstubes on the first and third. And during the Zooms, I tend to do something to do with fully finishing. And so I fully finished my quirky Quaker owl, of course, using beading. This is a Darling and Whimsy design, a Canadian designer. So if you're doing Canada swaps, Darling and Whimsy has quite a few of these available. And again, these do not take very long to do. I will admit that sometimes I change the colors, but I don't feel guilty because she says right on her pattern, do it your own way. Pick your colors and have fun. So I'm really, really pleased, and I'm very excited for her because the Darling and Whimsy, along with Bryn and Needle, have opened a brick and mortar. And I am so excited for them, but I must admit I am amazed that they have time because they both have full-time jobs as well. Wow. My other fully finished item is a project bag, and I decided I needed to make a project bag for more bird projects. Connie sent me one for my owl projects, and I will usually have an owl on the go because I am the stitching owl. But for birds, I did an extra big one because I've got a lot of bird projects. So it's adorable, and I quilted that. When I do this, it's fairly stiff because I quilt 2 layers of batting in my front and another layer of batting in my back, and look at the back. Isn't that adorable? Now I was hoping to get another project bag done for today to share so that I could show the Peregrine Stitcher what I do when I have a stitched piece to include. What I do is I do like a log cabin around the actual stitch and make it to a logical size, and I quilt that as the front. And fingers crossed I'll have one of those to show you next week. So sorry, Peregrine Stitcher, that I didn't quite have enough time to get it fully finished, but the good news is everything is ironed to do it. And that's it for my fully finished items today. Now, finished objects, and again I have to go, where did I put it? I am continuing to do the 1 Dozen Quakers by Rosewood Manor with Sheila and EJ of the Sunshine Stitchers. They are doing a Bake Me a Quaker Sal, where they actually divided this up into 12 sections, but set it up that you'd have 13 months to complete this, because we all know every single one of us will have a month where we don't get done what we hope to. And some of us don't get everything done like on a regular basis. So again, I do not plan to make the entire piece the way it is, but throughout the year I have been making smalls and ornaments and then sending them out in the Send a Smile program. As a matter of fact, when I looked, I hadn't kept a single one of them for myself. At some point I really should keep one. So this is the one that I did this time. So I'm on a 32 count aquamarine. It's an antique aqua. 32 count. And I'm using sulky thread here. Previously, my other stitches that I showed today have been DMC. This is sulky 1 strand. And then you can see that there are places that the pattern sets it up to bead, and other places that I left out a few stitches in order to bead. This one actually has 2 sides of beads because I had bigger beads to include on the 4 points and in the center. So I'm hoping to get that one fully finished for the next time. And that's it for finishes. Oh no, hang on. I did also finish 1 cookie cutter ornament, which is a pattern by It's So Emma from the Fat Quarter Shop. I did Rudolph. But as you can see, I have not gotten to doing my lollipops yet. So I have 4 of these done. I'd like to do another, either 1 or 3 of them, because I like odd numbers when I make an arrangement. And then make lollipops so that a centerpiece for Christmas can be made. And I'll probably give it away, but you know, I just have fun. And again, when we look at this, you can see that I've got beads there instead of putting in white snowflakes. So when it comes to whips, I brought 15 whips into August from the previous month. I'm working on most of them. There's a couple of them that have not seen light for a little while, and I'm hoping to get them out very soon. One of them is my Under the Stars by Jacob. That one's not being done because I'm having a hard time. For some reason, I can't see on that particular fabric, and I am in line for some laser surgery on one of my eyes. So it might have to wait till that is done for me to actually feel like I'm going to count things right, because I don't like frogging. With regards to Christmas stockings, I will admit that stitching the Olympics made my Christmas in July take a hit. And I didn't get near as much done as I wanted. I got number 4 started on red. So this is 4 calling birds. And I'm at the point where I'm thinking that what I'm going to do going forward is to pick one of the 3 colors, because I've got it on red, blue, and white, and do all of them for one of the colors so that I can fully finish them all in one foul swoop weekend, and then send out that wedding gift, and then do another color, get it all done, and send out that wedding gift. So there will be more to be done in August. I don't know whether it'll be before my next video because there's still lots of Olympics left. Weeds and wildflowers. Okay. So Weeds and Wildflowers is part of Caroline's birthday box from Evertote, and it is an Artsy Housewife pattern where we are using Roxy Flossco floss. And this is the pattern right side up. This one did not get as much done. I'm not going to blame the Olympics for this one. It is because I mislaid the pattern. I could find the floss, but not the pattern, for about 10 days. And then, of course, I discovered that it was sitting in plain view, but for some reason, I just could not see it. It was actually quite frustrating because I had hoped to get quite a bit done. But I did make progress on the flower. This moth had no progress since the last time together. But this did get definitely more stitches. Now I'm stitching this on a buttercup. This one is a 16 count, so it's nice and easy on my eyes. And now that I have lots of Roxy floss to pick from, I think that I'm actually going to channel my inner contented needleworker Kim and make some of the flowers around the edge, the wildflowers, a bit pinker than they are. So we'll see where I go with that. I have to actually put it in to see whether it will work well with what I've got there, but I think it will. And now, oh yeah, oh, hang on. Where did he go? Somewhere I have Happy Owl. No. Well, when I come across Happy Owl, I made progress on grass and more of the little owl in the past week. Well, I'm confused. I'm not going to make you wait. But I'm having fun with it, and it's a nice size for me to take. My mother needed more transfusions, so I just take and keep her company and stitch away. The nurses were quite interested in what I was doing, and one even was like, "Oh, I started to cross stitch too, but mine doesn't look anything like that." I said, "No, as long as you're having fun and you've got floss in hand, all is good." In praise of pollinators is this particular pattern. And there is 2 stitch alongs to go with this. Laura of La La Dee is doing Pollinator Sal, and I'm doing, she's got this divided into 7 quadrants so that she'll get this done by the end of the year. And I'm doing it more loosely, so you can, if you like to start in the left-hand corner and work your way out, great. Start in the center, work your way out. Take all the time in the world, finish it quick. However you want to do it, you can do it. And I'm calling mine Praising Janine's Pollinator Sal. So this time, you can see I got the lemur in. I'm missing 1 flower here, but other than that, I only have this and some back stitching to go to finish this particular stitch off. Now again, this particular pattern does lend itself well to making smalls. So I could take just this area right here with the lemur and the flowers. I could take the bee in the middle. Like the butterfly would make an adorable small. So this pattern is multifunctional. And I always like it when I can use a pattern more than once. Oh dear, my notes fell to the floor. Got it. Next, we have the Quaker flag, which is a Vivsters pattern on Etsy. And there is at least 40, and there might be, she might be closer to like 80 or 90 now, different flags that she has made a pattern for the people around the world. And we're doing a Quaker flag sal. Now this one I really wanted to make good progress on, and that's why some more things didn't get done. Okay, so I now have 23 Quakers done. This is the entire right red panel. So I was doing these in here, and then I also did these two right here. So I actually ended up finishing 4 Quakers in the past 2 weeks, and I'm at 27%. So is it not amazing? And like if I just come close, I'm stitching this on a 36 count linen that is opalescent. You don't see the sparkle here, but it does sparkle. And I am again using sulky thread so I get really tight saturation in the flag. I want to be able to put this in the window. And I know some of you are going to be awfully afraid that I'm going to fade my colors by putting it in the window. My plan is really to only put it in the window for the month of July, where we have Canada Day, and then the rest of the time to hang it downstairs where there is no natural light getting to it. So that will make the chances of deterioration of color saturation reduced significantly. And then, of course, we all know that I have as my final whip that I show each time, my stained glass owl by Sharova Creations. And on this, last night I kept stitching until I got to 80% done. That meant I had to put in 900 stitches yesterday. Again, why some other projects didn't get touched. But you can see that my goal was in the past weeks was to actually blacken the stained glass around all of the rest of the feathers of the owl, and then to start putting the stitches into the feathers. So if I bring that in close, you can actually see that some of these that don't look like they're filled in do have more stitches, but they're definitely not solid yet. What I'm doing is I'm picking a color and then stitching wherever it falls in all of those feathers. I did also do more of this, and I got started on a red part of the stained glass window up there. So if I come back to here, you can see. So my husband looked at this. I leave my stitches up on a design board for quilting so that I don't have fold lines going into the stitched sections that I have. And he looked at it the other day and said, "Oh, you're almost done." And I went, "You're right, there's only 32,000 stitches to go." And I think he was totally surprised that there was that many left. But all of the stained glass on the other side is still quite a bit of stitching. But I'm having fun. I try to have 5% done between each time I do a floss tube. That would get me done in October. We'll see if it happens. During the period where I am marking, probably not. So that is all of my whips. So now I'm just going to say, to celebrate my 1-year floss tube, I'm one more time going to give a $50 gift certificate to Evertote. I am reaching out to other Canadian designers and other places like Evertote that are businesses, to give them the opportunity to be part of my gift certificate program. But I think I just waited a bit too long to reach out, and people haven't been able to get back to me. I don't want to announce somebody who is not going to be able to do the program, so I'm going to do one more time of Evertote, and I know everyone loves the Evertote gift certificates anyway. So leave me a comment, and in the comment I'd like you to tell me where your starting point is when you have a new beginning. Some people start in the center, some people start on the left, top or bottom, some people start on the right, top or bottom, and then there might be some of you who say, well, it depends on the stitch. So let me know where you start, and I will collect the different responses and let you know what my percentages are for the different people. Myself, when I'm doing full coverage, I start on my top right. That way my left hand is always holding empty fabric, not stitched fabric. When I'm doing my smalls, I just start on either the bottom left or the bottom right, depending on how it lays on the big chunk of fabric. And on things like my Peacock and my Weeds and Wildflowers, I did start in the center. So mine will be an it depends vote. So that's your question to be in for the Evertote gift certificate. I hope to get responses from many of you. I have so much fun collecting that data. Now, shoutouts for today. The shoutouts that I'm doing will be listed below as they are always. I didn't quite get cards made up. Laura did actually mention once that she, at one of the Zooms, she didn't know how I had so many new people to mention. And I don't know whether it's because I have actually clicked on so many new Flosstubes that the algorithms are actually providing them. But I went along the first week since I last saw you, maybe had one. And then I got to the weekend and I had like one screen had 4 in a row on the right-hand side of people I had not heard of. So in general, when I'm shouting people out in this area, I'm shouting them out because they're brand new or they are somebody who has videos but are generally 500 subscribers or less. There are times that I am finding that people have more videos up than I do and have less than 200 subscribers. So I want to give them a little opportunity to have you guys see if they are your taste. I try in these moments to just provide you with information without inflecting my views and patterns to watching. So everybody that I recommend are not necessarily who I watch every single video of, but they might be interesting to you, so I want to give you the opportunity. So the first one, I need my glasses. Main girl in AZ, she has 2 videos. She's got beautiful stitching and a lyrical voice. Her name is Becky. She's a middle school teacher with not much time during the year, but because she's changed from a lower grade to a middle school and now has prep time at school that she did not have before, she's hoping to be able to give regular videos. The thing that I found charming about her was that she was talking about having a pile of darning, and her mother came to visit, and her mother got restless, and she said, well, do you want to darn one of these for me? And then her mother worked through her entire darning pile. That's a lovely mother. Now, I am going to be like some of my other friends and Flosstubers where we give recommendations and then we've watched them so long ago or had so many in a row that we don't always remember specifics about everybody. Fairy Tales and French Knots is one of the Flosstubers who has 25 videos already, but not a large following. Lemonade Stitching is Rachel, and she already has 20 videos, and she is a great reuser. She finds things and repurposes them. I really like that. My grandmother would love it. X-Stitching and Adventures has 6 videos. She's doing once a month. Dalit Wilson has 2 videos, lots of vibrant stitching. And Ladybug Stitches has 11 videos. And not only does she do videos, she's got an Etsy shop with designs that she has created. And one of the things that I found quite nice about her designs is that she's in the process of making a 1 a month design and actually wants to provide more than 1 a month for the different months of the year. But she's making a total small rather than inserting a month word on it. The reason I find this particularly lovely is that it makes her patterns multifunctional. It doesn't matter where in the world you live, these can work. Because after all, summer is not July to our friends in New Zealand and Australia. And if she provides, as she's hoping to, more than one summer option, those people who live in places like Hawaii and Florida that never see a snowflake, in January they will have other options for stitching. Now, I did reach out to some Floridians and said to them, okay, so what do you want us to do with prompts for things like winter when your winter looks so different from mine? And they said, I'm okay with the occasional snowflake, even though I don't get them. And I'm okay not having snowflakes where I live. That's why I live here. But I'd like for us to have more options. So thank you to Ladybug Stitches for this opportunity. And now, just going to celebrate with some water. It's a moment for music. And what I have here today is called A Song Without Words by Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn recognized that the piano, even though it wasn't his absolutely favorite instrument, it had great potential to sing. And as such, he wrote pieces that certainly could have words set to it, but he purposely left them without words so that you could create your own. Now, he wrote 8 books of these with 6 songs without words each, and they literally don't have titles. He doesn't give you any idea so that you can make this your own. The one I am going to play for you is in D major, and like many of them, is 2 pages long. Mendelssohn is a name that's very common in the music world. He's known for not just his composing. In his lifetime, he was fortunate enough to be born to a banker at a time where if you were a banker, it was because you had money that you could have a bank. So when they discovered that Felix was a talented young man, a gazebo was built in their backyard that seated 300. And they made it possible for him, even when he was young, to conduct an entire orchestra at presentations in this gazebo. Well, that furthered his music substantially. There's nothing like life experience. He's also known for resurrecting interest in Bach as being a composer that you actually perform. Bach, once he died, his ways were so Baroque and things were moving forward in time. So for the most part, people stopped performing his works out, but the well-tempered clavier continued throughout the ages to be something that was used by teachers to train the fingers. In some of the readings I've done, it has been said that the 2 books that have never gone out of print are the Bible and the well-tempered clavier. Mendelssohn staged a presentation of one of his Passion plays. A Passion is an oratorio, a completely sung work, no costumes or acting or dancing. And it's about the last week of Christ's life. And after this presentation in the mid-1800s, there was more interest in Bach again. So that was a significant contribution. Another thing that was really kind of amazing is that Mendelssohn was interested in music education. Some people would actually criticize Mendelssohn in his lifetime and say that he would be a better composer, God bless them, if he would just stay home more. but he would go out and he would be an adjudicator at festivals. And he would encourage major cities to establish conservatories so that we could have buildings of musicians to train the next level of musician. That's how people like Glenn Gould got the training that they have, that I got the training that I have, was through the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. These are not the only contributions of Mendelssohn, but they are significant ones. So I hope you enjoy my presentation of Song Without Words in D major. And so it is that we end my day of celebration. I thank you for being part of my life. The last year has been so much fun for me in my stitching as I transitioned away from being a piano teacher, theory teacher, history music teacher, to being a stitcher and a mentor. Every comment you leave, every like is appreciated. I thank you. And I do hope that while you watched today, that you had a needle, floss, and fabric in hand, and that as you made something beautiful, you made yourself happy. So I say goodbye for now, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.